Hello and welcome back to the Second Take Podcast. My name is Calvin Williams and I'm here with my co-host Marco Rogers, and today we have a very exciting episode planned for you guys as we head into the most exciting week of college football. So we'll start the episode off with a recap of week 3 and then we'll head into some NFL recap and predictions and finish it off with everybody's favorite segment, the college football. So let's start it off with that week 3 recap. Marco, let's get it going.
So first off, number 2 Michigan struggles past Bowling Green. Definitely not a close score, but considering the team we're playing against, probably the worst team we're gonna play all year. This was a pretty bad performance. The run game was intriguing. Corum definitely looks completely back. That first run was very explosive. 12 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. JJ, hopefully this is the worst performance he has all year, because I don't see another game in the schedule besides maybe Indiana where he can have this bad a performance and Michigan will be able to dominate an opponent. I think even if he has this performance against Rutgers, they're not a bad team. They could pull off an upset if he plays like that. He just has to be safer with the ball. The first interception, Colston Loveland, or actually A.J. Barner, ran too deep on his route. So, that's still on J.J., but, partly on Barner. The second pick, that was just a terrible throw. Roman Wilson was wide open on that play. The third pick, he just didn't throw it away. That's just a stupid mental error. And that throw to Cornelius Johnson that ended up in a touchdown probably should have been a pick if the corner knew how to catch a ball. Ended up being a SportsCenter top 10 play. But, defense, very sharp. Besides, the only reason why they allowed 6 points is because one of JJ's picks and then a fumble on a pooch kick, which is just I don't know. We couldn't deal with a pooch kick. We fumbled another one. Luckily, we recovered. Just not a very great performance before Big Ten play, and hopefully we can bounce back against a quality opponent in Rutgers.
Yeah, sloppy game, and I just hope that this is JJ getting past this type of game when it doesn't matter, and he's just locked in for the rest of the season. What I do notice with a lot of his bad throws / interceptions is he often doesn't get enough air under the ball, and usually that's a good thing because it avoids interceptions, but when it results in him underthrowing balls, then it's not good because it allows the corner to catch up. So on those deep passes, he's just got to get more air under it, let the receiver run under it. Moving on, nothing. Coastal Carolina gets the 66-7 win over Duquesne. They're basically a New Year's Six lock. Best team in the country. Grayson McCall, probably the best quarterback I've ever seen. Number 0 draft pick right there. Marco?
Grayson McCall, I'm not even joking when I say this. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in college football. That guy's owned the Sun Belt for 30 years at this point. We've been talking about him ever since the podcast was a thing. He was great 4 years ago. He's great now. That man, he is a bad man. And I think Coastal Carolina is going to win the Sun Belt. I think honestly, they'll probably go 13-0. This is not even any jokes, and they'll probably finish the season ranked. They're a very good team, and I think they'll dominate all their competition this year.
Grayson McCall is a bad man. All right, moving on. Number 1, Georgia survives against South Carolina at home. Super ugly game for Georgia. They were down for the entire first half by 10. Fortunately for them, they kind of pulled away at the end, went on 21 points unanswered in the second half. So definitely recovered, but very, very ugly game for Georgia. Marco?
Yeah, that first half, offense just couldn't get anything going. Luckily, in the second half, run game got going. Jejun Edwards, very solid performance, 20 carries, 118 yards, and a touchdown. South Carolina, they got sacked 9 times by North Carolina. And Georgia, yeah, they got some pressure, but they just, Spencer Rattler in the first half was pretty much doing whatever he wanted. They still ended up getting 3 sacks in this game, but against this bad of an O-line, I expect more out of a Georgia D-line that's usually best in the country. Carson Beck, bad first half, good second half. If he can keep improving, I think they'll be fine. Georgia doesn't really play anyone all year, so I don't expect them to lose, but definitely a bit of a startling performance right here.
Yeah, and I would say South Carolina is probably the best 1 and 2 team in the country with losses to UNC and Georgia. Uh, Moving on, we have number 3 Florida State surviving Boston College on the road. Um, they were up 17-10 at half after going down 3-7 in the first quarter. They were able to win this game, but they didn't get any points in the fourth quarter, which allowed Boston College to come back. Super underwhelming performance by this Florida State defense that previously had looked not too bad at all in games like LSU. But the offense propelled them to victory here. But super, super ugly game for Florida State. Marco?
You cannot be up 31-10 to by far the worst Power 5 team in the country, a team that lost to Northern Illinois and competed with Holy Cross, probably should have lost that game. And Boston College outplayed them. 18 penalties for around 200 yards for Boston College, and they still almost beat the number 3 team in the country. Like, they pretty much gave Florida State the game, up 31-10, and Florida State somehow allowed them to come back. Castellanos, impressive performance for Boston College. He had a lot of heart out there. Threw for 300 yards, touchdown to pick. Also had 16 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. But having no answer for average dual threat quarterback is unacceptable as a top 5 team. I thought Florida State was a playoff contender. I now think they're a fraud. You just cannot play like this. Sure, they might have been overlooking to the Clemson game, but you just cannot play like this against a team you are this much better than, or at least supposed to be this much better than. Truly embarrassing. I think Boston College should have won this game. A few questionable decisions by their coach, not kicking a field goal on 4th down in the red zone. They also missed an extra point, and then they failed a 2-point conversion, so the game would have been tied. They just beat themselves, and Florida State still let them back in this game. Embarrassing performance. They're going to have to get back next week if they want to be seen as playoff contenders.
Yeah, not good at all for Florida State there. Moving on, number 4, Texas struggles past Wyoming. After getting a good win at Alabama, definitely an underwhelming performance. They ended up winning 31-10. But if you watch that game, just wasn't terribly dominant. Marco?
It's not a very dominant game. I have Texas 10-10 in the fourth quarter. You cannot play like that. And Texas always plays the level of their competition. That's something I've noticed. Next up, number 7 Penn State heavily struggles offensively at Illinois. Drew Allar under 50% completion percentage. The run game didn't really get going. Their leading receiver was their running back, Nick Singleton. They got the ball 6 times off of turnovers, including 4 picks from Luke Altmaier, and they still only scored 30 points. That was embarrassing. Not embarrassing, but not good offensive performance, and Penn State's going to have to bounce back a little next week if they want to beat Iowa.
Yeah, for sure. Very interesting game coming up. Next up, number 8, Washington absolutely creams MSU. Just not even close. MSU ended up getting 7 points at the end of the game, but this game was 35-0. Tuck just, after leaving the program in shambles. His career's in shambles too, but the program's in shambles right now. I do hope they hire someone good. I know Marco doesn't, but I do want our rivalry to be back, to a higher standard of competition. On the other hand, Michael Penix, very up there with the Heisman contender. He's thrown for 1,300 yards this year and 12 touchdowns. Threw for 473 in this one. Phenomenal game from him. Just very dominant performance from Washington. Marco?
Next up, number 10 Alabama has the most embarrassing performance I have seen from Alabama in my entire lifetime at South Florida. This is a team who does not compete in the American Conference. They are a bad team. They went 1-11 last year, and they lost their 3 best players to Colorado. This is an awful team in South Florida. They are going to get killed and probably be the worst team in a bad conference. I think UAB is probably better than them. I think Tulsa is better than them. They're 11 bad teams in that conference better than South Florida. Bama plays a highly competitive game, 3-3 at halftime, 3-3 late in the third quarter. South Florida had plenty of chances to even take the lead in this game. However, Bama's defense, of course, looks good against this poverty team in South Florida. Ty Simpson, awful performance, third-string quarterback for Bama. Tyler Buckner, worst performance I've ever seen. I don't know why they went out and got him. He struggled at Notre Dame last year. Now they bring him to Bama, see if he'll have success there. He is not. The run game looks fine. They're going to be bad this year. I'm not sure if they're going to win 10 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that South Florida was in this game when Byram Brown threw 87 yards in the air on 14 of 28 passing and an interception with 0 touchdowns. Definitely says something about the talent level at Alabama. Not the talent, but the status of Alabama's team. Moving on, we have number 11, Tennessee losing at Florida. They were went up early, and then just it was kind of downhill from there. You only put up 16 points in this one. You're not going to have a ton of success, especially in those high-scoring SEC battles. So, just not what you like to see if you're a Tennessee fan. Joe Milton, pretty underwhelming performance, in my opinion. And Tennessee lets this one get out of hand. Margo?
Joe Milton, not an awful performance, 20 for 34, around just under 300 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. It didn't look like anyone for Tennessee played particularly bad besides the run defense, allowing 180 yards to Trevor Etienne. But it just looked like Florida's a better football team. I think Tennessee was heavily overrated. They struggled with Austin Peay last week. I just don't think that they're that good at football this year. That's just my opinion. I think Florida, good win for them, big win for their program. But I just don't think Tennessee is that good at football.
Yeah, the reason I said Joe Milton not struggled, but had an underwhelming performance was just because of his completion percentage. He had a 52 quarterback rating and only completed 20 out of 34 of his passes, which just needs to be higher at those high levels. Moving on, number 14, LSU dominates Mississippi State on the road. This game I was actually expecting to be pretty close, just because, like Marco said, like Marco said last week at least, this Mississippi State is always one of those teams that's really hard to beat at home, for one, and always just feels like they have something in their back pocket. But LSU, after having that week 1 loss to Florida State, Jaden Daniels absolutely lights up the Mississippi State defense, and they won 41-14. Margo?
I don't know why you let Malik Neighbors, by far their best receiver, have 13 receptions, 240 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Embarrassing secondary performance. Will Rogers, embarrassing. LSU just looked like they were on a whole nother level.
Yep. And then number 15, Kansas State loses at Missouri on a 61-yard field goal. This was a phenomenal kick. Missouri 3-0 to start the season. Currently 3rd in the SEC East. Wins over South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, and now Kansas State. That Middle Tennessee win, obviously not great, but Missouri definitely on the come up a little bit. Marco?
They have not lost at home to a non-SEC team in a very long time. I believe it's since 2008, and that continues against a ranked K-State team. Will Howard, not particularly bad. Their defense was particularly bad. Brady Cook, very good performance, and just Missouri, they looked competitive with Kansas State. Looked like it would be a great finish, and it was a great finish here at Missouri.
Yeah, definitely super exciting game there. And then finally, for our college football recap, number 18, Colorado survives Colorado State at home, 43-35 in overtime. And then, Colorado just struggled here. We've seen their offense be good in every game, 45 points, 36 points, 43 points. But a common theme in 2 out of those 3 games is letting up a lot of points. Against TCU, they let up 42, and now against a not good Colorado State offense, they allow 35. And I do understand that there is some emotional rivalry going on here, but it shouldn't have been enough for this Colorado State defense to allow 35 points. Shedeur Sanders, another pretty solid game, 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, did throw a pick, but I mean, he just continues to prove why he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And then I would say the biggest thing to note here is that Travis Hunter is hurt, so it's not looking good for them heading into Oregon next week. Margo?
Yeah, I'm kind of tired of seeing people hyping up this game like it was crazy. Yeah, it was a good game. This is one of the more embarrassing performances of the week with a lot of them. You cannot play a pretty bad Colorado State team this close at home. Shedeur Sanders played like you're supposed to against a pretty bad team. Their defense did not. They could not handle a crossing route, a simple crossing route. That's why Colorado State's leading receiver had 16 receptions because he just ran crossing routes the whole time. Travis Hunter's injury probably had something to do with that. But if you're a cornerback 2 and 3 cannot handle a crossing route, I don't think you're that good of a team.
Yeah, definitely need to step it up if you're Colorado. Now moving on, we're going to do a little quick NFL recap. Started off, Lions get stunned by the Seahawks. I was at this game. The energy was great, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. I mean, Lions fans are going to I'm going to blame the refs. Fans are going to blame the refs. Bottom line was our defense just could not stop Geno Smith. And that was that. I mean, I thought our offense looked pretty solid as it has end of last year, start of this year. But just really bad defensive performance. I mean, it felt like every single play, DK Metcalf was open, JSN was open. So definitely needs to be fixed heading into week 3. Margo?
Yeah, just not a very good performance out of the Lions. Offense looked solid. Defense didn't. Hutchinson probably got held on a few plays, but there was no flag, so it's not a penalty. I thought Lions would win this game. But they didn't. The defense was worse than I expected, and I think Lions will still be a solid team this year, but just probably brings the hype down a little, which is probably good for them.
Yeah, for sure. You want to take the Pats game?
Yeah, Pats lose another game by pretty much a millimeter to the Dolphins. I mean, I can't remember the last time the Patriots did not lose a game where we were down big at the beginning of the game, came back, defense gets turnover, offense goes down, scores a touchdown, cuts it to 1 score, defense gets another stop, offense takes over, drives a little, has a 4th down, and then they miss it by inches. I feel like that has probably happened 8 times in the past 2 years. That is just ridiculous how often that has happened. And I mean, just another moral victory, but can't get an actual victory. Good team in the Dolphins. Pats did a great job of limiting Tyreek Hill. Christian Gonzalez, the rookie corner, locked up Tyreek Hill. I think he'll be one of the best corners in the NFL in a few years. So moral victory, but no actual victory for the Pats.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots have a really tough schedule early on. So honestly, if you're a Patriots fan and you're heading into week 10 with 4 or 5 wins, you're honestly looking pretty good because in those first 10 games, you've already played the Eagles, the Dolphins twice, the Cowboys, the Bills, so, I mean, that's just a really tough schedule early on. And then you get a little break towards the end of the season. I mean, you still have to play the Chiefs and the Bills each once, but definitely not hopeless for the Patriots, even if they do continue to have a slower start. And then the Bengals continue to struggle with the versus the Ravens. They just haven't looked good, to be honest. Marco, what do you think about the Bengals?
Yeah, Burrow looked like he was sort of starting to get back to where he was. Then he throws a pick in the red zone, which you cannot do. There's not a good performance. Charlie Jones, Purdue football legend, he had a punt return touchdown. T. Higgins played well. Their defense, not great. I I can't tell if they're just not a good team or they're sort of warming up. But I think by week 5, we'll be able to tell, is this Bengals team truly just past their prime, even though they're all young, or they're just warming up right now?
Yeah, we'll definitely see. They started last year 0-2 also and ended up having a perfectly good season. So if you're a Bengals fan, you're probably holding out a good amount of hope. It's still only week 2. So, and then moving on, week 3 predictions. Started off with the Patriots at the Jets. Definitely an intriguing one here. Jets are 1-1, Patriots 0-2. You see Mac Jones starting to come into his own a little bit. Obviously, it wasn't able to get done in either of the first 2 weeks, but he hasn't played bad at all. And then for the Jets, you have Breece Hall kind of leading the way a little bit, especially with Aaron Rodgers out. You're kind of relying on the run game with Zach Wilson as your quarterback. I think the Patriots get their first win here. They've been playing hard teams, and I think that the change in competition will be good for them. Get a confidence boost heading into week 4. Marco?
Pats have won 10 straight against the Jets. We play each other 2 times a year. They have not beaten us since 2018. Zach Wilson is a bad quarterback. Pats win this game. It'll be close because it's always close, but we'll find a way to win. The only team we can find a way to win against is the Jets. Everyone else we find a way to lose.
Yep, and then Falcons at the Lions, home field advantage at Ford Field. I will tell you that place was rocking the other day. Lions have looked, they look good in week 1, pretty underwhelming defensively last week, but the Falcons can't really pass, so I'm not too worried about our pass defense. We'll just have to contain Bijan Robinson, and we'll be perfectly fine. Lions get the win here. Marco?
Falcons came back down 24-12 in the fourth quarter against the Packers. If they can keep that momentum up, they could beat the Lions here. But the Falcons are not that good a football team. They have a couple great players. A.J. Terrell, one of the best corners in the league. He'll lock up Amon-Ra. But besides that, they're just not that good at football. So I think the Lions handle the Falcons and get a big confidence booster.
Yeah, the fact that the Falcons are 2-0 right now might be the most fraudulent thing I've ever seen. But, we'll see what happens. And then moving on to everybody's favorite segment, college football predictions, week 4 edition. Let's get it going. First off, number 2, Michigan versus Rutgers. In this game, I'm really just, what I would like to see, JJ, no interceptions. Defense does what they need to do. Blake Corum keeps on improving like he has every single week. And I've said this 3 weeks in a row. I really need Donovan Edwards to pick it up a little bit because he has done little to nothing this season so far. Marco?
This is the first game. I think there's actually a slight chance that we lose if JJ plays like that again. This is one of the best rushing attacks Michigan will play all year. Kyle Monungai is an absolute beast for Rutgers. That guy's going to be tough to bring down. Rutgers always seems to have a good running back. They had Isaiah Pacheco. Garrett Wimsatt, one of the fastest quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He'll be able to hurt us with his legs. However, he's 34 for 64, 407 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 3 games this year. So they just don't pass the ball that much. The receivers aren't great. I think our secondary will be just fine, especially with Will Johnson probably playing. But it's just going to come down, is the run defense truly good, or is it just the competition? I think Rutgers probably gets a couple scores. My prediction, 34-14 Michigan wins.
Definitely need to play well this week if we want to get it done. Next up, number 4, FSU at Clemson. And I think I hear something. I think that's an upset pick incoming. I'm currently 2-1 on the season, and I'm taking Clemson to beat number 4, Florida State. Florida State did not play good last week at all, as we've talked about. Boston College keeping it close in the 31-29 victory for Florida State. So if Florida State does not pick it up, that deadly crowd in Death Valley could could be a problem for Florida State. And then my breakout player for Clemson is going to be Will Shipley. He's been one of the couple upsides for Clemson this season. He's kind of carrying their offense right now as they face quarterback troubles. So definitely going to be deadly in the attack as they take on Florida State. Margo?
Yeah, I was thinking of taking Clemson as well. However, they really struggle with the legs of Riley Leonard. Jordan Travis, a great Riley Leonard, the Duke quarterback, by the way. Jordan Travis, a great dual threat quarterback. I think they turn up a little more this game than last game. I don't think Clemson's that good. I don't think Florida State should be in the top 5 either. I think Florida State's still a very good team, just not a top 4 level team. So I think that they win this game. Very, very close. I think the legs of Travis are huge. I think Trey Benson has a very good game. However, I think Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman might get locked up. I think one of them probably has a big game. The other one gets locked up. And I think this will be very tight, but I do not think that Death Valley will be rushing the field.
All right, moving on. Number 15, Ole Miss at number 13, Bama. As much as Bama has faced struggles this season, I am taking Alabama here. I just think their talent outweighs Ole Miss too much, and although this is going to be a very close game, I think Alabama pulls away at the end for a little 10-point victory, 31-21. Margo?
I actually think Ole Miss will put up a decent amount of points on Bama. I think you only really have to put up like 31 points on Bama to beat them. Milroe is going to be playing quarterback. I think that's the best out of the other options. I think Bama's going to be a lot more run focused, maybe some option plays with Milroe, but they're not going to be able to play normal Bama football with this kind of roster against this good a team. They're just going to have to keep the ball out of Jackson Dart's hands. I think Jackson Dart, honestly, Heisman dark horse right now. He has some impressive stats against not great competition, but still, this is a very good offense, putting up 530 yards a game. Not a good defense, but there's a bad Bama offense, so I think this is a very, very good matchup. Give me Ole Miss 34-28 here.
Yeah, Jackson Dart, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country right now. Definitely going to be a good one in there. And then number 19, Colorado at number 10, Oregon. This one is interesting just because last week, if you told me this was a 21-point spread, I would think that's crazy in favor of Oregon. But now that Travis Hunter's hurt, I think it's a lot more realistic. I think the bodacious Bo Nix continues to be bodacious, and Oregon gets it done pretty handily.
If Colorado cannot handle a crossing route from Colorado State, I don't think they're going to be able to handle a crossing route from a bunch of 5-stars being thrown to by the bodacious Bo Nix. Troy Franklin, one of the better receivers in the Pac-12. No one's going to be able to handle him without Travis Hunter. I think Oregon's just going to put up a lot of points, and I don't think Colorado can put up enough points. I think the bodacious Bo Nix throws for 400 yards, probably a few touchdowns. I think this is just pure dominance out of this offense. This game will be very high scoring. Give me Oregon 56-35.
Yeah, definitely going to be a high-scoring battle there. And then number 22, UCLA at number 11, Utah. We continue our slate of ranked matchups as a UCLA team that is hot right now, led by freshman quarterback Dante Moore, who has been very impressive as of yet, especially as a freshman. The way he's been playing is unmatched by any other freshman quarterback, in my opinion, in the country. And then on Utah's side of the ball, led by guys like Cameron Rising, sorry, I don't know why I said Cameron Rising. Led by guys like Nate Johnson, who, to be fair, Nate Johnson has not had the greatest season of all. And then you also have Bryson Barnes, little quarterback battle going on right there. So I honestly think that this quarterback controversy for Utah is going to be a problem. And I think UCLA actually gets it done here. Margo?
Yeah, there's about a 60-40 chance that Cam Rising plays. I think if he does, I still think UCLA wins, honestly, as long as Dante – actually, no. I'm going to say Utah wins. only because this is Dante Moore's first road game. It's going to be a night game, at least on the West Coast. It'll be a night game at Utah. That's a crazy environment for a freshman quarterback. That's going to be ridiculous to play in. I don't think he'll have as good a performance as he would against Utah as he would at home. I think if Rising plays, he'll still be a little rusty, but he's better than Johnson or Barnes. So I think Utah gets it done here. Close game. I just think more. Maybe the pressure gets to him a little bit.
Yep, and then we have number 14 Oregon State at number 21 Wazoo. I think I got Oregon State here. I've been impressed by their performance. They've been relatively dominant as of yet. Wins over San Jose State, UC Davis, and San Diego State. None of them really close enough to cause any type of controversy. So yeah, I think Oregon State gets it done here. Washington State, you do have guys like Cameron Ward leading the at the helm, who hasn't thrown a single pick all season, by the way, which is very impressive. Almost 1,000 passing yards, 9 touchdowns. So definitely he's going to be a problem for Oregon State, and they'll have to figure out a way to manage him. But I just think this Oregon offense, especially with Damian Martinez, is just too much for Washington State. Margo?
Yeah, Oregon State, probably the most Big Ten-y Pac-12 team. Good defense, pretty run-heavy offense. They can't throw it when they can throw it when they need to with DJ Uiagalelei. However, I think Washington State has one of the best offenses in the Pac-12. I think Cam Ward is a top 10 Heisman candidate right now. He is a absolute dog, also a dual threat. I think he'll cause major problems for Oregon State. Home field advantage, Martin Stadium is going to be rocking for Wazoo. I think Wazoo gets it done simply because DJ cannot play well in pressure and big pressure games. So I think pressure gets to him and they lose this game. Probably throws a couple of picks. Cam Ward dominates. Give me Wazoo 34-21.
All right, moving on. Number 24 Iowa at number 7 Penn State. I'm taking Penn State in this one. Even though they had a rough week last week, I just don't think Iowa's offense is going to be... I mean, obviously Iowa's offense is way better than it was last year. I mean, it was absolutely horrendous last year. Cade McNamara has been great for Iowa. He's been leading them, way better offense than they had last year. But I do think Penn State's simply too much. Their defense has been good despite their offensive struggles. So if they can figure out that offense a little bit, this game shouldn't be overly close. Margo?
Yeah, Penn State, Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, Kalen King on that defense. Going to be a problem for Cade in that offense. But in my opinion, all Cade has to do is not throw picks. So this is my upset pick right here. I think Cade goes into the whiteout as he did for Michigan 2 years ago, although that was a noon whiteout. This is a night whiteout, so that's going to be a bit brutal. But I think he goes into Beaver Stadium, gets a dub with Eric All. I think Eric All is a big performance. He had that game-winning touchdown from Cade at Penn State a couple years ago. I think he has another dominant performance. I think their defense, they stop the run, which is really what you need to do against Penn State. Drew Allar has played better at home this year. They've also played worse competition at home, so it's hard to know. Maybe he's a home type quarterback who just plays better at home. Maybe he just isn't that good. I think Cooper DeJean probably has a pick, maybe a pick 6. I think Allar really struggles against this Hawkeye defense. Probably throws a couple picks his first of the year, and I think just a lot of pressure on Allar. Cade's used to the whiteout. He's played in a lot of big games, and I think that experience pays off. And I think Iowa goes and shocks the world at Beaver Stadium.
Yeah, definitely. If this was last week, this would have 100% been game day. Super exciting one right there. And then finally, our college football game day. Number 6, Ohio State at number 9, Notre Dame. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better week 4 matchup in college football. This one is about as close as it gets. For Ohio State, you've seen quarterback troubles, but then again, you have guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver who are just impossible to guard. And then for Notre Dame, I mean, you have Sam Hartman leading the helm, much better quarterback than Ohio State has. Not as many weapons for sure, but also probably a more well-balanced team. So this game is definitely going to lie in the hands of Kyle McCord. Does he have a good game? Is he able to get some downfield passes to Marvin Harrison? If Notre Dame conceals Marvin Harrison, it's going to be a victory. I don't think they do, though, and I think Ohio State goes 4-0. Margo?
Yeah, Ohio State actually had a pretty intriguing performance. Western Kentucky is not a bad team. They beat them 63-10. Western Kentucky, awful defense. I expected that out of them offensively. But holding that pretty powerful offense to 10 points, although they're still not very talented, that's pretty impressive. I want to see if they can stop Audric Estime. I think that's what this game comes down to. I think Kyle McCord plays average. I think Sam Hartman does have a good game. But, I mean, Sam Hartman having a good game is, with his receivers, is not going to be as good as Kyle McCord playing average with his receivers. So I think it just comes down to who can run the ball better. Ohio State, Mine Williams, Traven Henderson, Trainer as well, versus Audric Estime. I think that's what it comes down to. I think Audric Estime is the best running back on the field. I think Notre Dame is a better O-line. They control the line of scrimmage. Give me Notre Dame here in a huge victory at home to Ohio State. And Ohio State in another situation where they lose early in the year to a good team and can't afford to lose another game for the rest of the year like they have been in a few past years.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better week of college football. Gonna be a super, super fun weekend. Marco, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thank you all for listening to the Second Take Podcast. We'll see you next week. Peace.